Hi guys, it's February and I know for some of you it's time to hit the trail. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Muse and I attempted a through hike of the Appalachian Trail in February of 2022. And although I had to get off for New York due to foot injuries, I still feel like I can give you a little bit of advice about starting your through hike in the month of February. When I decided to do my through hike in February, I went out looking for videos with people's experiences about starting their through hike in the month of February. I didn't find very many, so I thought that I would do a video for you guys and just kind of give you guys my insight, any advice that I could about starting a through hike on the Appalachian Trail in the month of February. So guys, I felt like there were four main areas that were really important for me when I went out looking for information on for starting in the month of February. And I was really looking for information about the weather. I was looking for information about gear that I should take. I was also looking for information about hiker services. And last, but probably one of the most important things and reasons why people start in February is I was looking for information about the bubble. So let's start with weather, number one. That's probably the most important thing that all of you guys are all worried about is the weather. Well, guys, guess what? You can't predict it. I am from North Carolina. I have lived in Atlanta, Georgia. And what I do know is that the weather in the South can be a little unpredictable. Like, it might be 40 today and 70 tomorrow. And that's true on the Appalachian Trail as well. But one of the best things that I found that you can do, you can't predict the weather, but you can prepare for it. And the best way to do that is by going to atweather.org. If you look down here on the screen, I'm going to put it up right here for you guys. It's atweather.org. If you're watching this on your television, go get your phone. If you're watching this on your phone, hit pause, grab a pen, piece of paper, okay? Write that website down and go to that website. As you can see, when you type in atweather.org, it brings you up a page that says Appalachian and Pacific Crest Trail weather. This website does contain information about the AT and the PCT. So remember that because it will come in handy if you want to do a through hike of the PCT as well. So when you come to the page, make sure home is selected. You're going to select the trail that you would like. Select Appalachian Trail. And for example, you're going to select the state. So naturally, all the states come up, and we're going to select Georgia. And then we're going to select a location. So let's select Springer Mountain. And as you can see, what it brings up is this afternoon's weather, tonight's weather. Then it'll tell you what's happening on Thursday night, Friday. And as you can see, it will take you all the way to Tuesday night. It typically does give you 7 days of weather ahead of time. So for example, if let's say you're starting from Springer Mountain tomorrow morning, which would be Thursday, you're going to be starting in the rain. And let's say you're starting at Springer on Thursday morning and you are going to, let's say, go Appalachian Trail, gonna go Georgia, and let's say you want to stay at Hawk Mountain Shelter. So tomorrow night, if you're staying at Hawk Mountain Shelter your first night, you're going to have rain showers, it's going to be cloudy, and you're going to experience a low of 28. So what this does, you guys, is it does give you the opportunity to plan ahead. And like I said, you can't predict the weather, but you can prepare for it because it will give you a 7-day advance. So you can see 7 days ahead. One of the things that I really use this for, because I myself did not particularly stay at shelters. Once I got out of the Smokies, I like to stay at different spots. There's so many beautiful campsites. The one thing that I love is that it does give you the elevation of each shelter. So that kind of gives you an idea of what it's doing at different elevations. And that can kind of give you an idea of what elevation that you would like to stay at. Because it'll tell you basically what the temperature is going to be for the elevation. And then you can use your far out and determine where to spend the night. So if you're starting this week, you got a couple cold days ahead of you. You have a cold month. As you can see, going to atweather.org is so important. And one of the things I did is I put it on my home screen. Just put a little tab on the home screen so I could go directly there. Guys, one of the things that you can do is you can register your through hike with the ATC. This is something that I did. And when we had a situation where there was a storm coming through and the temperatures were going to be down to 0, the ATC actually sent us out an email which let us know that for the whole entire length of the trail from Georgia to Maine, there was going to be a really bad storm coming through, and they sent us out an advisory recommending us to get off trail and seek shelter for a day or two. This is what I did, and definitely I was glad I did. Guys, something else you can do is ask your fellow hikers. Even if you're not using atweather.org or you haven't registered your through hike with the ATC, a lot of hikers out there will be using these tools. And so they'll be getting alerts. They're going to know about bad weather coming on. And as you're talking, you're sitting around, you're eating at the shelter, you're eating dinner, talk about the weather. That's going to be one of the best ways to find out, because I had an instance when I was on trail. I didn't even realize that there was a bad thunderstorm coming through. I knew that it said it was rain and possible thunderstorms, but I didn't know how bad it was going to be. And I was talking to some fellow hikers. They told me about it, and we actually got off trail, and I was glad we did because a tornado came through. So asking your fellow hikers can be really valuable, and it potentially, it might have saved my life. Something else that I also recommend, guys, is talking to the locals. When you go into outfitters, talk to the guys that work there. Ask them, are they from the area? Ask them about the weather, because they're going to know. For example, when I was in Hot Springs, I was talking to the guy at the outfitter, and naturally, I'd come out of the Smokies. I'm thinking, okay, I can send my cold weather gear home. So I started talking to the local, and he told me, he said, look, don't send your cold weather gear home yet. He said, we're still going to have more storms. He said, you got a blood frost, a white frost, a red frost. He started talking about all these different frosts. And guys, he was right, okay? After I talked to him, I think snow like 2 or 3 more times. So asking the locals can be really, really helpful. And that same local gave me one of the best pieces of gear advice that I have read or seen anywhere. And that's to not send your cold weather gear home until you see the leaves and the little leaf buds starting to grow in the trees on the very top of the mountain. He said, not when you're at the bottom of the mountain, but when you get to the top of the mountain and you start to see the leaves growing, then you can send your cold weather gear home, because then you're not going to run into any crazy storms like freezing weather and things like that. And guys, he was right. After I started seeing the buds growing in the top of the trees and the top of the mountains, I didn't see any below 32 weather after that. And he was correct. All right, because I did send my cold weather gear home before that, and I did experience some really cold weather, and I did have to break out the emergency blanket one night. So listen to the locals and talk to the locals. So guys, with that being said, that brings us to topic number 2 that everybody is worried about is gear. And I know you're thinking you've watched 1,000 videos, because there's thousands of videos about gear. There's thousands of videos about cold weather gear, winter gear. And let's be honest, guys, gear is very subjective, all right? So my best piece of advice that I can give you when it comes to your gear is to know yourself. Get to know you. And what do I mean by that? Guys, if you sleep cold at home in your bed, you're going to sleep cold on the trail. If you have cold feet when you sleep, you're going to have cold feet when you sleep on the trail. If you sleep hot at home in your bed, you're going to sleep hot on the trail. Those things don't change, okay? I already knew that I sleep hot. And so I didn't bring a liner. But I also knew that because I sleep hot, I wouldn't need a liner, okay? I knew that because I understand how I sleep. I also went on shakedowns, and the very first shakedown or section hike I went on, I took my liner. I used it the first night. I came out of it. I carried that thing for 2 shakedowns and never once ever used it. So did I bring it on my through hike? No, I didn't. Did I need it on my through hike? No, I did not. So guys, that is the great thing to do is you got to get to know yourself. If you have to sleep in heavy wool socks at home when you sleep, then you might want to bring some down booties, okay? So just be prepared to know yourself when it comes to gear. Understand how you sleep, understand how you hike, okay? Guys, I didn't realize just how hot I would get when I hike. So I brought like a long sleeve hiking shirt. But guess what? I never used it. With that being said, less is more. And I know right now that there's a lot of you guys who have never been on a thru hike and you're thinking, okay, I'm just a little weary of that. If you're worried, then by all means, I'm not telling you not to bring certain pieces of gear, things that you think are going to keep you warm. But with that, be prepared to send it home. I thought that I was bringing very little. I thought like, okay, I am not bringing a lot of cold weather gear. Guys, I sent home 6 pounds when I got to mountain crossing. After the first 32 miles of a 2,200 mile trip, I sent home 6 pounds, okay? Almost probably 5 pounds of it was just clothes. I sent home extra socks that I had brought. I sent home that long sleeve hiking shirt that I never once put on, all right? Guys, you're probably gonna overpack. Probably the number one thing that everybody's wondering, and you probably watched this video just to see my take on, do I need micro spikes? Guys, I ran into snow, got it in the Smokies, got it going across Big Ball, got it going into Station 19. It snowed on the weekend. I went home for a wedding. It snowed that weekend, and everybody was off trail. So like I didn't really lose any time because I'd have been sitting at off trail at a hostel. Instead, I went home for a wedding, so the snow lined up. So it was like 4 or 5 instances where I seen snow when I was on the trail. At no time, guys, did I ever need micro spikes. And I fell 17 times. All right, I made it to New York. Between Georgia and New York, I fell 17 times, guys. Not one of those times was in snow or ice, okay? Just take your time. Go slow. If I was starting right now on February 1st, would I take micro spikes? No, I would not take micro spikes, guys. But that is up to you. By no means am I telling you not to take them, because if you're willing to carry that weight, take them. But the one thing I will say, from the time I left Springer and headed north, 75% of my mental thought was what I could mail home to get my pack lighter. When I started, I was like 36 pounds. By the time I got off in New York, my pack weighed like 22 pounds, guys. So to say that if I started right now, I wouldn't take half of the clothes that I brought, guys. So, if you want to overpack, that's okay. Be prepared to send it home. On the other side, the flip side of that, if you want to take less because you don't want to overpack and you're scared that, you don't want to be out there carrying stuff you don't need, what I need you guys to know is there are outfitters all along the trail. If you're not sure if you need a liner, guys, don't bring it, because I promise you when you get to mountain crossings, they're going to have a liner. If you miss it, getting a liner in mountain crossings, when you get to Hiawassee, go to around the bend, have those guys take you into Hiawassee. That outfitter had all kind of cool gear. If you by all means miss it at mountain crossing and you miss it in Hiawassee, when you get to Franklin, go to Outdoor 76. Outdoor 76 has got all kind of gear. They got everything. And then, guys, if they don't have it, you go to Outdoor 76. They don't have it. But they talk to those guys. Find out what piece of gear you think you need. You think you might need, okay? If they don't have it, mail it to the knock. Order it. Have it sent and delivered to the knock, okay? Because guess what? You are going to be walking right by the knock. Through the knock. You're not going to have to get off trail. Mail it to the knock. Those guys are amazing over there. And guess what? They have a really good outfitter over there that has all kind of gear as well. So guys, I promise you, if there's something that you're not sure if you're going to need it, don't bring it. If you need it, there will be a place for you to purchase your gear. The one last thing that I want to say about gear is I'm going to tell you my favorite piece of gear that I am so glad that I got. I heard it on all the gear videos, the cold weather gear videos and things like that. It was one person who mentioned these, and I thought, wow, that's a great idea. And so it's camp gloves. Guys, these little babies these are little Smart Wool basic liners, got them off Amazon. These things were absolutely amazing, okay? One thing that I also recommend too is a sun hat. Nobody told me to bring a sun hat. I didn't bring one. I had to actually pick one up on the trail. The reason why that I recommend this sun hat, if you're starting in February and you don't think about it because you're like, oh man, it's not hot. Why am I going to need a sun hat? Guys, there are no leaves out there. There are no leaves. Definitely recommend this as a part of a great piece of cold weather gear, and I recommend this because, guys, there's just no shade, there's no leaves in the trees, and this sun hat, I wish I had started with it. Number 3, a big thing, not the biggest thing that everyone's worried about, but something that is on a lot of people's minds, and that is hiker services. Are hiker services going to be available to you when you get on the trail if you start today, February 1st? Guys, I promise you, those guys are there and ready and waiting for you, okay? I was just speaking with Ashley the other day. They're set up down there at Amicalola Falls for you guys. Bob is ready to give you a talking to, okay? Hiker services are available. The shuttle drivers are ready and waiting for you guys. Hostels are open and available. Probably the biggest thing I've seen that changed the most is that the different shuttle drivers that were listed in comments and far out, you would give them a call and they weren't working or they weren't available or they were out of town. So that's something you're going to run into, but it's not because they're not available because you started in February. That's going to be the same even if you started in March. And guys, last but not least, number 4, the thing that everybody's worried about. Let's do the fourth quarter 4. The biggest thing that the main reason why I started in February, and I'm not going to lie, is because number 1, didn't want to deal with the crowd, and I was so worried about walking in the bubble. I went out and did a section hike in 2021, and I walked with the bubble, and it's a lot of people, guys, especially down there in Georgia. So I really wanted to get ahead of the bubble. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't out there with a lot of crowds and that sort of thing, and so that's the reason why I started in February. And the other reason was I wanted to see snow. Like I was really excited about seeing snow, and trust me, I got to see it. Also, guys, be aware that even starting in February, the shelters were always full. Anytime I didn't stay in a shelter after the Smokies, I never actually slept in a shelter the whole time I was out there, but I only camped at a shelter 3 or 4 times maybe after the Smokies. I did not stay in shelters. There's so many other campsites along the trail that are absolutely beautiful, absolutely amazing, and 10 times more convenient than a shelter. So for me, I was not a shelter girl, but just know that even in starting in February, their shelters were always full. If you're not there by 5 o'clock, a lot of times there's no spot in a shelter for you. Even as far as campsites go, like at Hawk Mountain, we were packed. Gooch Gap. I don't even think there was a camping spot, a tent spot left at Gooch Gap by dark that night. So, and that was starting in February, guys. But granted, I did start on the infamous two, the quadruple 2-day, so there were a lot of us out there. But also know that a lot of times when you're looking at the ATC's numbers, it will say that, there's 20 people starting that day, and you start, and you never see that 20 people, and you find like 5 people that started on the day you started, and they don't pass you, and they don't catch you. So, I'm not sure where these people are, but just know that even if you are starting in February, you're still going to have to deal with some people. It's just not going to be the bubble. If you wanted to go and you're trying to really avoid a crowd, leave right now. Leave right now. Go leave now. But guys, the biggest advice that I can tell you starting in February is the same advice that I would give anybody for hiking the Appalachian Trail. Have fun, have an amazing time, but most importantly, just go. it broke my heart to have to get off and not be able to complete it all in 1 year. I'll be back out there this year. I have surgery, so I have to wait and get all that taken care of. But then I'll be back because, guys, it's absolutely amazing. For God's sakes, go get off the couch, get out of the house, go get on the trail, go have a good time, meet some amazing people, enjoy the views. Just stop and enjoy the silence, laugh at the squirrels, talk to some chipmunks, and hopefully you can run from a bear. I didn't see one. I still ain't seen a bear. Didn't see a snake. So. Alright, guys. You guys have a good one. Again, hit like, hit subscribe. I'm going to throw you guys out some more videos. And most importantly, I hope to see you on the trail. Bye.